Hello everybody and welcome to this NF podcast. My name is Karin Hoogendijk and I'm president of NFPU. I'm in this role for a couple of years now and my connection with the NFPU is that I have a young daughter who is diagnosed with neurofibromatosis. I really like what I do and today we're going to make a podcast for you about the NF Academy. Before we dive into the topic, a quick note for all of you who doesn't know what NF is. NF stands for neurofibromatosis. Neurofibromatosis is a genetic condition which makes non-cancerous tumors grow on nerves. It affects a lot of body parts, like the nervous system in the brain. There are a lot of people who suffer from ADHD, autism spectrum disease, learning disabilities, or delayed development. The non-cancerous growth will mainly be on the skin. So there will be people with a lot of lumps and bumps on the skin. There will be people with bone issues like scoliosis, which is a curvature of the back, or bone problems in the legs, and even brain tumors can occur. So there's a lot of uncertainty what issue you will suffer from and when. It is a rare disease, a rare genetic disorder, but still in Europe, 250,000 people suffer from this condition, which seems quite a lot. In general, 1 of every 3,000 people will suffer from neurofibromatosis. That's, again, a lot of people, so that's why awareness and community is such an important topic. So, let's talk about our plan for today. We have some special guests. We have Andre Rietman present, a Dutch psychologist.
Morning.
Good morning, Andre. We have Daan.
Hi.
And we have Marit.
Hello.
Hi, both. And you were both present at the NF Academy in different years, but you are now NF ambassadors. Welcome, everybody. So today it will be all about the NF Academy and we will soon learn more about that. But start with a little round of introduction. Andre, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Andre Rietman. I work in the Sophia Children's Hospital, which is part of the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands. And I'm a neuropsychologist, mental health psychologist. And I divide my work between at the outpatient clinic, child and adolescent psychiatry, and research into rare disorders, and especially mental health and rare disorders. And in my private life, I'm a father of 3 and a few cats and dogs, and I like to watch movies and read books.
Thank you so much, Andre. Daan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Daan. I've got NF for myself. I'm 25 years old. I'm still a student at the TU Delft and I like to play football and go to the gym.
Thank you, Daan. And what about you, Marit?
I'm Marit. I'm 33 years old. I work in a children's daycare for children between 2 and 4 years old. And in my free time, I do volunteer work for the Dutch patient organization, the NFVN.
Thank you, Marit. So let's start with this. When were you 2 diagnosed with NF and how did it affect your life?
Well, I was diagnosed even before my first birthday. Because as a baby, I had some trouble with breathing, with eating. I was throwing up a lot. So my parents took me to the hospital and then the doctor was looking in my throat and they saw something sitting there. So they took me to the Erasmus in Rotterdam because back that time they hadn't an MRI scan in The Hague, so I had to go to Rotterdam. And after they made the scan, they saw that I had a plexiform neurofibroma in my throat. And that's one of the signals of neurofibromatosis, NF1. So that's how they discovered that I have NF.
Thank you. And you, Daan?
Well, I was a little bit later than Marit, but I didn't. I wasn't conscious back then, or I don't have any conscious memories. If I need to believe my parents, I was around 4 or 5 years old. So my mom felt a little bump inside of my neck, and we went to the hospital, and I already got some other symptoms like the cafe au lait spots and like something on my eye they discovered earlier. So it was like connecting the dots, and I was diagnosed with NF1 as well.
And would you like to share some of your symptoms which you have today?
My symptoms consist mostly of plexiform neurofibroma. So I've got two, one in my neck and one on my back. I've got dyslexia, and they recently discovered a pheochromocytome, and that's like a non-cancerous tumor on the kidney. And mostly aside of that, I'm doing fine. I'm doing good.
That's good to hear. Thank you. And Marit, would you mind sharing?
Well, I had some of the same symptoms as Daan. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with a pheochromocytoma, which caused a lot of problems. And it took a while before they discovered it. So I had some symptoms for a few years. But fortunately, they removed the tumor now. And now it doesn't bother me anymore. And well, I have dyslexia, just as Daan have. And I think I get tired sooner than my peers. So that's something I need to think of. I need to take time for myself to have a rest.
And did you feel different sometimes? Or did you have trouble with your fatigue?
If I think back as a teenager, for example, at school, I didn't feel different because you can see on the outside that I have NF. And as a teenager, you're busy with a lot of things. So I didn't think that much about NF. At the moment, I don't feel different, but I'm more aware of the fact that I have NF. Especially since 3 years ago, I had this kind of tumor. So I'm more aware of the fact that I having this disease and things can go worse, or there's a chance that I will get other tumors in the future. So I'm more aware of the fact.
Okay.
And next to the physical symptoms, you mentioned dyslexia, as Daan did, and the fatigue. I can imagine that sometimes you're hesitant to think, is this part of NF or isn't it?
Yes, it's funny because a few weeks I spoke to someone and she mentioned if there was a pill that you could take that took away your NF, would you take it? And we were getting in this discussion about if you would take that pill, because NF also affects more than the skin or the chance of getting a tumor. It also has some aspect of autism and other kind of symptoms. So you don't know what's caused by the NF and what is you. So if you take the pill, you don't know, am I going to be a different person? Yeah. So we wouldn't say yes immediately. If it's only took away the chance of getting tumors, of course you would take the pill. But it's involved in so many parts of who you are as a human. You don't know what will happen if the NF disappears.
Daan?
Yeah, so there are also, of course, always some mental problems that could get involved in NF1, and I think we talked about this earlier, like a few weeks ago. Indeed, I don't have that much fatigue, but sometimes I get tired really easily. And then it's indeed very hard to say, is it because of the NF1 or is it because of the person I am or my active lifestyle? So, sometimes I would do social stuff in the evenings, and then I need to go to study and then work, and then, I will also go to the gym, all those kind of stuff. And then, of course, I'm really tired. But is that because I have an F1, or would every person be tired after having such a week? So, I also don't really think it would be important to say this is because of NF1 or whatever. It's just part of you, I guess. So then it doesn't really matter if it's NF1, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also imagine that some of your physical symptoms impact on how you feel or how you think about yourself. Is that the case?
Well, of course, it has some influence in your self-image. I would say I'm quite clumsy. Sometimes I do stuff and like I will bump into chairs or tables, and then I'm like, what's happening here? And also, I mean, I like to go to the gym a lot, but I'm also a part of NF is that muscle grow is just way harder for people with NF1, and it can be very frustrating. Also, something like scoliosis, something I would feel like I would feel very good about myself, and somebody will take a picture, and then later I will see them. I'm like standing a little bit weird, and that I'm like, why am I standing this way? So of course it influences your self-image and yourself. You're quite self-conscious about it, I'd say.
Well, thank you both for sharing and being so honest. As it is a rare disease, people with NF often lack peer support. And not many people in the Netherlands have it, of course. So we have a patient organization called NFPU. That's the Dutch organization who supports patients with NF. How did you hear about it, and when did you join, Marit?
Well, my parents were involved in the organization when I was very young. But I think I got more active when I was around 16 years old. My mom told me that there was a WhatsApp group for younger people with NF. So that's the moment where I joined this group. I also took part of some activities organized for younger people with NF. So I think I was around 16, maybe 17 years old.
Okay. And you, Dan?
I was a little bit later again. I think my mom, it's always the moms, right? She was already a member for a longer period of time. And when I became a ambassador, I think when I was 23, I also became a member of the NFPU.
And Andre, how do you think about the role of patient organizations in a rare disease?
I think they're really important, especially in rare disease, because sometimes people only meet somebody else with the same disease at your age. I mean, that could happen. And when you're 20, you suddenly meet somebody else. And before that, you can have the feeling that you're the only person in the world, or at least in the country or in the village. And I think patient organizations can play this part in bringing people together to provide peer support. But next to that, on top of that, I think patient organizations as the NFPU are taking their role in policy making, in contributing to innovation and to research. And we are mostly, when we start with a research idea, we approach patients organizations to ask them to contribute, to think along on funding applications or research projects. And finally, obviously, education is a big part of patient organizations like the Young Academy, but also information material that has been made for parents or for patients, so you can be the ambassador you need to be, because there's nobody else, even in the professional atmosphere sometimes, that knows about NF1. So you need to educate people about, in fact, your own disease.
Yeah, I can only agree with that. Patient organization play a big role in rare disease. Thank you. So back to the NFPU. NFPU is a member of the umbrella organization NFPU, and they contribute every year in organizing the NF Academy, or at least send in participants to the NF Academy. You both joined the NF Academy. Were you happy to participate, or were you hesitant? Could you share something about that, Dan, maybe?
I was quite happy to participate. I think, again, my mom told me something like this happened or was taking place. And I think just before I got I wasn't really hesitant, but then you feel a little bit of the healthy pressure to say so. So like, ooh, what's the week really gonna entail? But I was happy afterwards as well that I participated.
That's great to hear. And Marit, were you happy to join?
Yes, I was really happy to join. I also hesitated a little bit in the beginning. Because it was the first edition of the NF Academy, so I didn't exactly what to expect, and I didn't know exactly what it meant to be a patient advocate. So there was a little doubt, and you go to another country in another language with people you don't know. So I was a little bit nervous, but after all, I'm really glad I did because the week was amazing.
Okay, yeah, that's great to hear.
And they put a great effort in the getting to know each other the first days, don't they?
Yes.
Because you are already there at the weekend before the content, the official program is starting, aren't you?
Yes. The first 2 days I was I did the NF Academy in Vienna, and the first 2 days we were outside Vienna, in the mountains, in the nature. We did a lot of stuff or a lot of exercises to get to know each other. For example, one exercise was pretty hard. We need to scream something out loud about or thought about NF or something that someone said about us. And it needed to be something negative. So something that you're insecure of or something that you fear for the future. And we could do that in our own language because that would make it easier. And it was very emotional because some thoughts aren't happy thoughts, like not be able to work a full week because you get tired really soon, or you're insecure about how you look. But although we did it in our own language, we did feel the emotion that was underneath what we were saying. So there was a lot of support, and we grew to each other really, really soon. So it was a very hard moment, but also a very special moment because you felt very, very connected, and we were called ourselves the NF family. So I've never felt that kind of connection to people so soon.
Yeah, that was something that really stood out the first days because I joined only on Tuesday together with my colleague Sandra, who was a psychologist as well, and we decided to start with some education about the mental part of NF1, but it was quite hard to get started with the group because they're so used to each other and they're kind of like a family, as you said, and it's hard to get them quiet or to listen, but it's, again, you see that they have a really connection together and they're having a good time. Was that the case with you in your group as well, Dan?
Well, we didn't do the part about like screaming something in your own language, but the first 2 days were really focused on getting to know each other. And it was quite intense, but I enjoyed it. You need to like kind of imagine you're there with a group of, I think, 20 people-ish.
Yeah, 20 about,
and you all don't know each other. Maybe you know one person, and then within those 2 days, you actually make like a friend group. And I think what's funny or what's really cool to see is that, like, I've had really supportive family, really nice friends. I could always tell them everything, but really understanding won't really be an option for them because they don't have NF1 themselves. And because there's like this one thing, having NF1 that all bonded us, made it, really special, intense friendship within those weeks, or within the first weekend actually. So I think that was a very good way of starting the week, and actually also very important because you're sharing a lot of personal experiences, a lot of insecurities, and if you don't have that basis of being on the same line, I think the week would be way different in a negative way.
And could you tell us a bit more about the rest of the week, about the rest of the program?
Well, the first weekend was getting to know each other and doing all the nice stuff. So we visited the Euromast. We went, for the Dutch listeners, the pannenkoekenboot. And then all the information stuff started, which was also interesting, but it were some long days. So information about the genetics of NF1, quality of life, mental health day, getting to know Amit. Amit is also one of the most influential speakers with NF1, all those kind of stuff. So the fun part was over.
I've been in Rotterdam as well, but it was really nice. We visited the lab. We could actually see where the DNA was stored. It was really interesting. Marit, do you have any things to add maybe?
Well, I went 2 times. I also went to the lab. I went to the lab in Portugal. So that's also very interesting to see.
And there's also an afternoon about being active on social media.
Yes.
And there's a part about being a patient advocate.
Yes. And we had a very interesting talk about how to speak about NF, how to be act for a camera or something. So that's now I'm here. So it was useful.
It worked.
I hope it
exactly.
worked. I hope I learned something.
It's really about becoming an NF ambassador, isn't it?
Yeah,
and the last day, were you happy to go home, or how was that for you?
There were very mixed feelings because you leave the group where you are very connected to. But on the other side, you did a lot of stuff, so it's also a nice idea to get some rest. But I also felt very energetic to do something for the patient organization here because I had a lot of ideas, a lot of information, a lot of power, I think, from the week. So I was very excited to start after our rest.
And you, Dan?
Yeah, as Marit thought, I think it's really ambitious. So at the one hand, you're kind of happy to go home and start do your normal life stuff with a lot of ideas. I think we ended the week pretty chill. I think in groups of 2 or 3 people, we wrote on a poster like, "This is what I want to do when I go back to my own country." But it was also quite emotional because, well, you build up this friendship with people. You know, I mean, you can always say, "Oh, we're definitely going to see each other again," but you always know how it goes. When the moment everybody starts their life again, it's really hard to find a spot in the agenda. So, I think there was also the emotional part, knowing you're probably never going to see those people again.
Well, you shared such an intense week with them. Yeah, I can imagine that's hard. Yeah, I've witnessed it twice, and even for me, it was an emotional moment to see people saying goodbye.
Still, you're in contact through WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah, with some. I did have some contact with Nina and Lola. I hope you're listening still for the first few months. But now I'm doing like the European coming together, and then I see some people I also saw during the academy. So Katie and Valdemir. Also saw Valdemir in Barcelona last year. We had a summit. Because everybody still stays active, you still keep seeing the same people. So that's actually quite nice.
And Dan, what was your biggest learning experience?
Well, I learned a lot of stuff, like the genetics part, but I think my most valuable learning experience was I always was really open about NF1, but maybe now I knew or know a little bit better what it really entails, and maybe also accept sometimes the fact that it's there, and maybe open up a bit more for emotions and the mental health stuff that is involved in that. I think I always kind of pushed it away, like I'm fine, and I was always doing fine. But being a bit more aware of what's there and what you're having, I think is really good. And you also need to give some space to those emotions. I think the week kind of gave me that opportunity, or gave me the realization that I need to be more open towards those emotions and feelings.
I don't know, Andre, you have anything to say about that as a psychologist?
I also think that it learns you, as I hear you, perhaps to take this space. I before I had some conversation with Marit, and she told me that it's perhaps also easier to take the time to rest or to take a break because otherwise your fatigue will play up, and that's at least what you told me. What is something you need to learn. You need to be an advocate for yourself in the first place.
Yes.
Your biggest learning experience?
I think I learned the most from the other participants. It was very special to see how they stood in their life, or how they overviewed their life. They were very powerful. And they had a lot of strength, I think you say it like that.
Resilience. I think that's the word. Yeah, that's the key word in
the word that came back during your academy constantly.
Exactly. Resilience, so important.
And I think, it's very important to have each other and to support each other. So I think that's the most important thing I learned, how important it is to share with people who has the same issues or the same, I'm looking for the word, challenges that you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the most important thing I learned, how much it can mean.
So peer support.
So peer support, yeah.
I think peer support is important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. And on top of that, I think, as for what I experience, is that these groups are extremely kind for each other, and they're really taking into account each member and really paying attention. Nobody is dropping out of the group, and whenever somebody is taking a rest, there's always somebody asking how you're doing. Are you okay? Shall I leave you alone, or shall I sit with you? And it's really a kind atmosphere among the people.
And there's a deep understanding, I think, as well.
I think so too. Yeah, they know what they're
Yeah.
coming from, and they know what to expect.
Yeah,
They know questions to ask. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have any more personal thoughts to share, or about the academy? Or have you shared enough? That's good as well.
We shared a lot.
Yeah, you shared a lot.
Well,
You're
yeah.
very open and honest, and that's really
Yeah.
nice mix.
Well, yeah. Maybe one more thing about the academy is that sometimes you also found out the funny stuff about. Sometimes what I would have is when I'm walking in a group, I would be bumping into people if I'm not looking straight forward. And I was always like, well, maybe I'm just not good at walking. My friends were always like, what are you doing? And then I spoke to some people at the NF Academy, and they experienced the same thing. And apparently it has to do with scoliosis and your balance stuff. But yeah, it's also something I think quite funny about the NF Academy is that those kind of things, you're connecting the dots, and maybe you found a little bit of peace with yourself that's happening. So yeah, maybe that's the final saying for me.
That's nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I want to say something about, we just talked about how do you know that some symptoms came from NF, or it is just you, who you are. And I talked about that I'm tired. I think I'm tired sooner because of the NF. But I'm not sure if it's the NF, because sometimes, I work in children's daycare, dus of course I'm tired after a day. And I never live a day without NF. I don't know if it's just normal that I'm tired, because other people are tired as well. And I'm thinking, am I overacting, or do people think, yeah, but I'm tired as well, so don't complain? Or so that's difficult, because I'm not extremely tired. Sometimes with NF you heard that people are extremely tired and they can't work a full day, and I'm able to work full days. And that keeps me busy sometimes in my head.
Yeah, and there is also in this group, there's a large variation. I mean, we know there are motor coordination issues, and some people show these coordination issues even on top of their scoliosis. Some people experience attention difficulties, and we see sometimes people dreaming away, or are just paying attention to something completely different. But then again, this is also a group of people that are quite independent, and they're good at exchanging these ideas about, well, is this NF, or is this just me, or is there a good reason to be tired now? So I think these discussions are important. Next to discovering who you are yourself, also discovering something about your disease and what belongs to neurofibromatosis and what doesn't. And most of the times, I think it does. It is part of NF1. But then again, there's a lot of people with dyslexia without NF1, of course, and a lot of people with autism also without NF1. So this variation is something you need to talk about, and you need to exchange these ideas just to get to know NF, but also yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the good thing about the NF Academy.
Yeah,
and that's being worked on a lot. Well, thank you everybody for sharing all your insights and your feelings and your emotions. Thank you very much for being so open. This was part 1 of the NF podcast. In part 2, we will be talking about the life after Academy. What has changed for the participants in their lives, and if it made them feel different about themselves. So Thank you very much for joining us in this podcast. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope you've learned a lot about the NF Academy. In part 2, we will talk about life after Academy, what it changed for the participants and what went different in their lives. Andre will be here with us again, Marit and Daan also. So please stay tuned for part 2. If you want to have more information about neurofibromatosis or the organizations, you can have a look at the show notes. Thank you very much and see you soon.